What is going on, fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives Make Money Online Trainer Podcast. It's your boy, Brian Mark. And in today's episode, we're talking about this idea of inevitable. When you're working on things that you care about, when you're working towards goals that you'd like to achieve, when you're working towards the lifestyle that you'd like to build, the biggest enemy that you will ever deal with is your own self-doubt. The biggest enemy you'll ever deal with is the fear that you will not make it. The biggest enemy you'll ever deal with is the constant anxiety you feel about whether or not you will achieve the outcome. And so in today's podcast, my intention is to give you the framework for how I think about my goals. I want to give you guys the ability to be able to do this for yourself. And finally, I want to give you the rock solid confidence and certainty that you're going to accomplish every fucking goal that you possibly have for yourself in 2025. Now, I feel like I stumbled on this by accident, because for me to learn what I'm about to teach you guys in today's podcast, I didn't really have a choice. And what I mean by that is when I was, when we think back to 12 years ago now, which is crazy that we're talking about 12 years ago, when I was overcoming my addiction, like I didn't have any other option but to succeed, because I had gotten kicked out of my grandma's house, car repossessed, living in a trailer park, got fired from all my jobs, and my entire life felt meaningless. So for me, the only thing that got me through was literally being absolutely so fucking delusional that I would convince myself every single day that all of this shit that I was going through was going to lead to my massive success. Every day I was going to war with myself, and I was telling myself, like, bro, like one day you're going to be a millionaire. One day you're going to have a big social media following. One day you're going to live in a mansion. One day you're going to be a massive influencer. One day. And I was just telling myself over and over and over again, one day you're going to have a beautiful family. One day you're going to be in the best shape of your life. And I literally just convinced myself that it was going to happen. And this idea of I will fucking make it. And I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how much time I have to put in. I don't care how many reps I have to do. I don't care what price I have to pay. I don't care for how many years I have to pay it. I don't care who I have to cut out. I don't care what mentorship programs I have to invest in. I will do whatever it takes to achieve my goal, and I will not let a single thing get in my way. And I will go to bed every single night knowing that I did everything in my power to become the person that I was supposed to become. That was the mindset. And you guys, like, I have the ability now to be able to communicate this message. Like, the truth is, like, I've always known this, like in the back of my mind, in like the bottom of my heart, I always knew that this sort of life was possible. And if it's possible for, Gary Vaynerchuk, if it's possible for Andy Frisella, if it's possible for Ed Milet, then if that's possible for them, it's possible for me. I've always known that. Like, that has always been a belief that I've had since day one. But trying to communicate that I believe that when I didn't have the results to back it was very challenging, because I would try to tell like my friends, family, coworkers, like, dude, like you can do anything. And they're like, well, then why are you fucking working at this restaurant? If you can do anything, like why are you fucking working here? Minimum wage job, if that's the case. And now I get to communicate this message to you guys, like as one of the top podcasts in my space, as somebody that got to speak on international stages 7 times last year, as somebody that owns a 25,000 square foot gym, as somebody that made $10 million last year. Like, I'm fucking telling you guys, like, you can literally fucking do anything that you set your mind to. And people hear that so many times, and Alex Hormozi says it best. It's not about what's taught. It's about reminding people of, the actual truth. And for me, the actual truth is this, like, when it comes to your success, the biggest enemy that you will ever deal with in your entire life is yourself, is your own self-doubt, is your own procrastination, your own worry that you're going to fail. And if that's the biggest enemy that you will ever deal with, then we must take that negative and flip it into a positive, which means the best thing that you can ever do for yourself is absolutely fucking convince yourself with 100% certainty, with absolutely nothing held back, and 100% faith that you will achieve your goals this year, period. And that, for a lot of people, is the hardest venture you will ever embark on, because a lot of us, including myself, I didn't have a track record of success when I first started. Like, I couldn't look at my life and be like, oh, look at this thing that I did, and this thing that I did, and this thing that I did. Because up until 12 years ago, it was failure after failure after failure after failure after failure after failure after failure. And so for me to convince myself that I was going to be successful when I literally had no evidence to show that it was possible was the craziest thing I've ever done. And I'm like, it's crazy to think now because like I know that I'm going to achieve every single goal that I set for myself. And first I had to convince myself that I was going to do it. And now because I've done that work for so many years in a row, I have absolutely no fear when it comes to accomplishing my goals. And as a human being, there are moments in time where self-doubt slips in for a second, but I have the self-awareness now to recognize that. And as soon as that self-doubt comes in, I start fucking repeating affirmations to myself like, I'm the one, I'm the one, I'm the one. And you have to get yourself to a place where you realize that it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, and you decide that it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. Like, I'm absolutely certain that I will achieve every single goal that I set for myself in 2025. I'm absolutely certain. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's a matter of when it's going to happen. And sometimes you set goals for the year. And so for me, like I talked about this in the previous podcast, I set the goal of hitting 10 million 3 years ago and I failed. 2 years ago, failed. Last year, failed. This year, hit. And that to me was just evidence. I'm like, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And sometimes the goals that we have don't come to us in the timeline that we give it. And so that we think that that means that we're not going to achieve that goal. And so what we do is we end up giving up or stopping the work that we were putting in the first place because we're like, well, I set the goal of hitting fucking 100K in 2024 and I only hit 60. So this shit isn't meant for me. Like, what if that 60 grand that you just made in 2024 was actually building the foundation so that you could make 100,000, 200,000 this year? What if that was the case? But so many people, they have these goals and they're like heading up this mountain and they're like walking and they're walking. And then they realize that the mountain's steep. And then they start saying to themselves, the mountain is too high. This is too intense. This hike is too long. I'm out of breath. They take a break. They stop. They relax. They take their foot off the gas and then they start sliding down the mountain. And then as soon as they realize they're sliding down the mountain, they're like, oh, fuck, I should probably get back to work. So they get back to work. They start pushing themselves towards their goals. And then they put in a little bit of effort. And when they haven't reached their goals, they take a break and they end up sliding down the mountain and they fucking keep repeating the same process over and over and over again. And finally, you get to a place where you don't even set goals for yourself because you're like, what's the fucking point? I never achieved my goals. But when you can get yourself to a place where you just fucking decide, it's literally that easy. You just have to decide. You have to make a decision that you are going to achieve your goals, period. And it might not be today, and it might not be tomorrow, and it might not be next week, it might not be next year, but it will fucking happen. When you make that decision and you just stake your existence on that purpose, and you say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, your success becomes inevitable. Guys, I've got some big fucking goals this year, and I'm not even going to tell you about them. I'm just going to show you. And this is my invitation, and I'm going to implore you to not only set big goals for 2025, but also make the decision that you are going to hit them. Because unless you make that decision a concrete, there is no going back, I will do whatever it takes. I will stay in the arena for as long as it takes. I will do everything in my fucking power to achieve my goals. And I will not look at the clock. I will not look at the timeline. I will not get impatient. I will stay consistent. When you make that decision, your success becomes inevitable. So I invite you to make that decision for 2025. You deserve it. Your family deserves it. The future you deserves it. The inner child in you that always fucking dreamed that you would have this life deserves it. So go fucking do it. Peace.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Hopefully you got some value. If you did, and you want to learn more about how me and my team can help you scale your online fitness business to $10,000 a month, DM me 10K on Instagram at @TheRealBrianMark for more information, and I'll reach out to you to see if I can help you grow an online coaching business.